Well, I've actually been able to sort through these a lot quicker than I thought I'd be able to. I've called the pile back here good. I've got a littler pile here of questionable, and the bad ones that came out here. And on these bad ones, of course, now there's a plunger stick. There it went. These three, there's another one again where the plunger's sticking. This one's got plunger sticking. One of those just popped loose. This one, I'll hold it up to the microphone here. It mechanically sounds odd inside. And if I compare it to one I called good, you don't hear that metallic clicking or rasping. So I'm definitely calling that one bad. These, I could feel that one binding inside while I click it. That one feels okay, but there was a reason I called it suspect. No, it's completely open. So in this case, I can't get continuity on this one at all. Definitely bad. See, this one, it's dropping down to about 230 ohms resistance, so I don't get continuity on it either. You may have heard that. Occasionally on this one, when the plunger goes all the way down, the contact opens again, so it's either bouncing or who knows what. There's that one sticking again. I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of sticks and then pops loose. And although that one feels mechanically okay. That one may be okay, but again, I called it bad. I'm going to leave it in the bad pile. There was a reason, whatever that point in time was. I've got this pile here that I called questionable. All of these, most of these, the plunger felt odd. It was tight going down. Get the bad ones in a bag here, so they are completely isolated. On these, the plungers either felt weird. That one's really stiff and sticks occasionally. That one's just stiff. You know, all of these, it's like maybe there's contamination inside of them. Continuity wise, they did, pass the continuity test. Again, kind of feels dirty inside on that one. So, I'm not even going to risk it with these. That one is oddly stiff inside, even though it does make contact in return. Anyhow, this small handful I'm going to set way out of the way again so I don't accidentally pick them up. And the little adapter I made here actually worked out really well. I'm able to just simply hold the switch in place with my finger. The pins are making contact down at the socket, and I could just activate the plunger. Of course, now I'm not holding it solid because my hand's at a funny angle. There we go. These all seemed reasonable, so I'm happy with this test. This is just a little board with a couple of wire loops on here to hook the ohm meter on, and those just run parallel. Well, I can see why those pins don't work there. I didn't get all the solder bridging correct, but just pins are hooked up in parallel to the jumpers, so pretty straightforward. As for repopulating this board, I have new numeric pad key switches. I bought a couple packages of them. I got to locate them. These will get replaced with the brand new switches. The way this will be done, of course, if I can find the metal frame, here's the frame, is I will most likely put a corner switch in each corner, and then work the board down onto it, and that'll get the board centered, and solder those up. And then I'll probably go ahead and populate this out. I'll need a return key, and then what I will most likely do is just populate one of these inner rows, go down, plug it in, and test the keys and make sure they all seem okay. And that way, if this guy right here turns out to be bad, it'll be easier to get out because it doesn't have keys on these two sides. I'll take the next row. If one of them's bad in there, it'll be trickier to get out. And just kind of build my way down rather than do it all at once. The orientation on the PC board behind most of these is the same, but there are a couple that are rotated. There's one down here in this corner where the switch is rotated. You can't see that. Rotated 90 degrees from the others. But again, I'll be able to build it back up and hopefully have it work. This is that Model 1 I got cheap with the really nasty keycaps. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and spray paint it first as well. Anyhow, there's the sorting process I went through. The board itself with the little interesting, I assume they're pull-up resistors on the little hybrid here, which is kind of interesting. There's a hybrid rather than just a resistor pack. Of course, maybe all resistor packs are that way inside. And of course, some logic, and this has got my mod on it to allow you to use once I have an IDE cable to make it easy to put in and out. Anyhow, there's this piece, and I'll come back as I make more progress. So I've gone ahead and painted the sheet metal. As you can see here, I've got 4 of the keys mounted in various places, so I can flip this over and get the PC board aligned. It'll go together somewhat like what you see right here. Get the board out of the way. Go ahead and get this flipped over. The orientation of these should be correct. So I should be able to come in now with a little bit of work. Get the board to drop down onto those various pins. The paint's still a little bit tacky, so I may be trying to do this too soon after painting. This will of course be the difficult part. Okay, those two have set down on. I'm having difficulty with one of the new ones on this side. There it goes. So with that, the printed circuit board is set down on. I will go ahead and tack solder or solder those up, and then I can begin stuffing other keys in. The challenge here is of course getting the holes lined up as you put the key through and get it clicked down in. But that's a good start. You can see of course here, oh, well, I'm holding it where you can't see it. I apologize, let me do that again. I've got 2 of the switches through the board here, and 2 of them through the board over on this side. And I was trying to say there, and I'll show it again, is that the difficult part going forward is going to be getting these in and getting the pins on the switch to come through the board. So that'll be a bit of a challenge, but by soldering these 4 in place, we've at least got the PC board somewhat mounted to the metal frame. So I will go ahead and solder these. Make sure the board's down flush to the switch body. It should be this guy right here. Make sure he's down on flush, and he is. Not happy with that solder joint. That's better. And so at least mechanically now it's all held together. I mean, I can begin to work in other switches. Of course, over on this side we've got the numeric keypad with the brand new replacement switches I got on eBay. So this one should go in here. And let's see, I've got another. The pins didn't quite line up. Yeah, the holes are just a little tight. Really got no problem putting the entire numeric side of this together, as these are new and should go in relatively easily. This will also give me an enter key, so when I power up, I can hit enter at the basic prompt. Let's see, that one doesn't want to line up. Those pins are straight. Another reason to start on the inside roll or row, and I should have done that here, is you can see through to try to get the pins to line up. There it went. Oh, shit. Yeah, the paint's still tacky. I shouldn't be doing this at this point. I will let the paint set up a little longer here. Try to get these all in. Period should be here next to the enter key. Why am I short a switch? Oh, it's the 0 one because I had replaced that switch previously. And the period goes in here. I will pick one of the ones that I believe to be good. The pins are relatively straight. Clean off a little bit of the solder from them, just to make it a little easier to get them down into the hole. Not quite sure why that isn't lining up. There it goes. So, numeric keypad is in. Still, of course, needs to be soldered up, but that's pretty much the process I will follow here as I work through this. So I'm going to let the paint actually set a bit longer, and we'll come back to it. Well, at this point, I've got the keys you see soldered in. I've seen that they all work. All of this enter key doesn't enter on the memory side. I don't remember if it's supposed to or not. So I'm going to put in a few more switches. This should be the actual enter key location right here. That has not gone through as cleanly as I'd like. There it is. Okay. That should be the enter key. And really, it's just going to be a matter now of walking through these, making sure the pins are somewhat straight. And doing that. That's the clear key. It's got a lot of solder on it. We'll clean that excess solder off, make it a bit easier to get through the hole. The pins are relatively straight. Of course, the tricky part's going to be getting alignment. This one's got a lot of solder on the leads. I'll just sit here and clean up a handful of these. Straighten the leads to make them a little bit easier to get in. That lead's pretty bent there. I think the most challenging part of this project might be trying to clean these old keys up. They're just, you know, the white part has turned just a muddy tan. And I don't know if it's just age. I mean, the other Model 1 keyboard I've got, the keys are still pretty bright and white on. At first I thought maybe the original owner of this keyboard had smoked around it, and maybe that's still the case. Definitely need to do some lead straightening. And hopefully my testing was sufficient to get me a reliable set of keycaps. Let me find a pair of pliers for doing this with. I'm not sure I like this one because it's got teeth to it. Very exciting, I know. I'm sitting here not talking, just shooting video of me straightening out pins. And we'll see how difficult it is to get a row of these in. Of course, being able to see down through the holes here helps, because I can kind of wiggle it right and left to get the pins lined up with the holes. It won't be as easy as I get to the next row. It's got something down inside of it. this actually isn't all that bad. That one has a, oh, that's not actually a key switch there. That's for the extra plunger on the enter key. Make sure these are all seated. Make sure the circuit board's down tight, all the pins are through. Go down, throw this on the Model 1, and make sure all these keys work before I move on. Of course, these keys have been through a fair amount removal, reinsertion. This will be at least the second time in their lives they've been soldered. Actually, it'll be the third time because there was the heat to solder them, the heat to remove them, and now the heat to solder them again. If I could find new key switches, I'd just replace them all with new ones, but these look to be rather difficult to find. I just noticed I didn't. Oh, that's an extra one I put in. Say I missed one earlier, but no, it's one I had just added. Yeah. That's looking pretty good. One row's in, soldered. I can go down, drop this in the system, make sure those all work, and come back and do the next row.